Welcome to the Oswego Alumni Podcast. I'm your host, Dee Perkins. Our guest today is Lex Barker, class of 2003. Lex double majored in business administration and economics. He's got a great story about how an alumni connection with the EPA got him his first internship. After working and living in DC, he joined the Army Corps of Engineers in Buffalo, where he's worked for nearly 20 years. Recently, Lex served as a project manager for the Oswego Harbor West Arrowhead Breakwater. Wow, that's a lot of words for breakwater repairs. It's a multi-year $82 million effort that wrapped up this past August in Oswego. And we're excited to talk to Lex about his journey, his Oswego journey, his career path, and what it means to see his work come full circle all the way back to the Oswego waterfront. Lex, welcome. It's good to have you here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
You were a kid from Buffalo and you had plenty of colleges all around you to choose from. What's your Oswego origin story?
Yeah, so I live in Buffalo now. So originally from just the east side of Rochester, though, which is okay. Yeah, so just about an hour away from Oswego, and yeah, plenty of college, options, right? I mean, so I looked at Fredonia, looked at Plattsburgh. I looked at like the far ends of New York State. But I love that Oswego was close to home for me, right? Like an hour away. It was a big change. Even though it was an hour away, it was still a big change. And I just loved it being by the water, right? I loved just the atmosphere when I visited. And it was nice that they had revived their track and field programs as well a couple of years before I started there. And of course, I was interested in business and they had my major. So, yeah, all those came into play in choosing Oswego. And I'm very thankful that I did.
You majored in business and economics, and I can't help but think, as an 18-year-old, did you even know what that would entail?
A little bit. So, my mom worked in the business world. She worked for a gear manufacturing company, Gleason Works, in Rochester. And actually, a lot of my family worked there. So I actually had like the take your kid to work day. So I knew a little bit about what that business end of things was, in the office environment. Um, and in high school, I had taken a lot of business courses as well, accounting and keyboarding and other marketing, right, advertising, right, things like that. And I had a lot of interest in it. Wanted to see how everything worked. So I chose business administration because that was everything, right? It wasn't just focused on finance or accounting or marketing. So I chose business administration. And as I was going through college, my business advisor mentioned that I could graduate early if I wanted to. I had some credits from high school, so that helped with the general education requirements, and knew that taking business, there's a good amount of economics courses. And for me to potentially have a double major, if I wanted to, economics would be a good one to do. Accounting would be another one. But I really liked economics and the professors, and they had some higher level courses that I thought were really interesting. So I said, well, I'd like to stay the full time. And so I did. So I picked up that second major, which ended up long term affording me an opportunity to get into interdisciplinary project manager role at the Army Corps of Engineers. So very, very fortunate that who knew a decision as a 19 or 20-year-old would, yield something like that to get into, a field that I didn't really think I would be in, but very fortunate to be in.
So explain to this calm broadcasting major, what is the difference between a business degree and an economics degree?
Yeah, just different disciplines, right? Business, very focused area. Same thing, kind of economics as well. Uh, and like I mentioned with business, right? There's disciplines you can go into. I just did the overall general one. With economics, there's a lot that goes into like there's microeconomics, macroeconomics, but then I got into a little bit of the history of it. I actually took econometrics. We actually had an economics of baseball course. I don't know if they still have that. That would be great if they did. I
Yes.
really enjoyed that because I enjoy sports, and that was neat as well. And then there were advanced like micro and macroeconomics. So a lot of it can be data driven, right? It could be very data focused in economics. But there's also other like socioeconomics. There was an environmental economics, which was really good. I didn't know that I was gonna, get the internship at EPA, but that environmental economics course helped me tremendously once I got the internship because I had some idea of how things work with the EPA and how they have to coordinate with industry and some of that. So they're a little bit different. My business was very general, but economics was pretty focused. A lot of data driven.
We love hearing alumni stories about how alumni help people get things done. And we tease that an alumnus helped you get your internship at the EPA, which then led to a career there. Tell us the story of how that happened.
Yeah, yeah. So actually, the alumnus is Paul Lapsley, and he grew up in Oswego, went to school at Oswego for undergrad, and he went to University of Rochester for graduate school, and he was able to, out of there, get a connection. I think actually it was in the Carter administration. And so he started out at EPA and then decided to shift to a career, right, with EPA. And then towards the end of his career, he had a connection, a family connection to a business advisor at Oswego when I was going there. And he wanted to pay it forward. And he brought three of us down. It was myself and two other guys that were in business, classes and have that as a major. So we were able to get connected, right? It was offered up. We had to, write an essay and how we were interested in it. Uh, and he brought us down to the internship, which was amazing, right? Going from kind of a small town outside of Rochester, going to Oswego, a little bit bigger, but then actually going to a major city. It was quite a big change, but it was great for growth development for me. Getting away from home for a little bit, seeing the world, meeting new people, and it was just an awesome opportunity. So very, very thankful that we were able to do that through an alumnus.
Your resume makes it look like there might have been, was there time in between the internship? Did you come back to school and finish school, or did you stay in the internship and then make your way into a paid employee position?
Yeah, so I had a little bit of a gap there between, when I ended the internship, the end of our federal fiscal year, September 30th, and I actually applied for the permanent job about a week later. They had lifted a hiring freeze, which was great, and I was able to apply. So they actually had my interview on Halloween. For the EPA, which I was dressed, in a suit and everything, but others were dressed in their Halloween costume to go home and do trick or treating with their kids. I think one of them was in a ladybug costume, so I could say I've interviewed with somebody in a ladybug costume. Pretty unique.
So tell us a little bit about working at the EPA. You're a business guy, economics, business and then
Yeah.
economics, but the EPA is science focused.
Yep.
How'd you find working there?
Yeah, so a lot of federal agencies, including where I currently work at the Army Corps of Engineers, have accountants. And I had almost enough, accounting credit hours and experience. So my position there was a program analyst. So that's like a general. If you have a degree, it could be pretty much in anything. And the program analyst was a general overall kind of catch-all for anybody with a degree. So when I was at the internship, I was in the administrator's office, and we would all of the rules would go through that office. And as interns, we were able to deliver it to the what was the GAO, the Government Accounting Office. Now it's the or the General Accounting Office, I think. Now it's the Government Accountability Office, and up to Capitol Hill as well. So that was really neat. And then when I got in full time, it was basically kind of the Superfund accounting office. So for folks that aren't aware, Superfund program started, I think, authorized about 1980, kind of right after Love Canal. That was one of the drivers, and lots of other environmental, cleanup and actions, and that led into that. Uh, and so what I did, there's a state cost share, Superfund state cost share. So all states have to pay 10% of the cleanup. They pay a cost share into it. So just tracking that, getting information from our regional offices. And then after cleanups, so the office I was in, we had two certified public accountants. And Oswego, of course, has that great 5-year program there. I did not take advantage of it, but I have a lot of friends that did, and they're doing very, very well. But so they're expert witnesses on the cost of the EPA for the cleanup. So, and I was able to get access to the room with everything from 1980 all the way through current times. All the data that's needed to recover from potentially responsible parties, PRPs. So. Um, it was just really interesting. Again, being in that world, coming out of college, and having that opportunity. So never fully went towards. I had some plans towards doing that, getting the CPA and the expert witness. I just never fully did that. I started looking for federal employment closer to home. So, but that was a path. That would have been a pretty interesting path too. Doing that, going to court cases, and you know. Kind of raising your right hand and documenting the costs, in that setting. So,
Were you making sure, I imagine giant spreadsheets everywhere, giant spreadsheets.
yeah.
Were you imagining, were you only working on tracking the money of these cleanups, or were you also involved in tracking the science?
So it was mostly the money piece of it. However, in that group, we worked with Department of Justice, and EPA had their own lawyers as well. And there were connections to the science offices as well. Specifically, though, our expert witnesses were based on the costs, but there were lawyers that had to do the science piece of it as well. So we had, kind of cross-government meetings that we would go to quarterly with other agencies, in being able to, complete the cleanups as well as recover the costs as well.
Personally, again, I can tell from your resume that you were a little homesick. How long did you stay in DC, and at what point did you say it's time to move on?
Yeah, so it was about 3 years, and in the federal government, so there's a grade structure, right? And the higher level grade you go, the harder it is to leave a concentrated area in a major city. So I knew as I had progressed through the grade structure that it would be a little more challenging. That it was kind of time after 3 or 4 years, before I got too high of a grade to try to, see what was closer to home. So it just kind of, figured that out on my own. And it was the right choice. It's definitely harder the higher up. It's not that you can't do it, but it's definitely harder the higher grades you go. There's just less grades available, the higher up you go, especially into upper management.
Mhm. So you moved over to the Army Corps of Engineers, who had an office in Buffalo. Didn't get you to Rochester, but close enough. Close
Yeah.
enough. Is that within the realm of the federal government? Like, was that a like more like a transfer, or was that I'm quitting, I'm going to another company?
So that's a transfer, right? And Army Corps of Engineers is very unique. It is overwhelmingly Army civilian employees, like 98%. However, we have military leadership. So in our case, we have a major and a lieutenant colonel at our district, and they're our leadership, and they report to colonels and generals at higher levels, regional offices and above. And then there are a lot of veterans. About 30% at the Army Corps of Engineers are veterans. So I have never been enlisted, but we have a lot of employees, a lot of my coworkers that are in the reserves or retired. right? And then move into the civilian world. So it is very unique. Uh, Agency, right? I did not have that at EPA. EPA was all civilian. I mean, there were veterans, right? But nobody, actually wearing a green suiter basically. So I love the dynamic. I think it's great. I really, really, really do. It's an awesome agency to work for, and we get to see what we do, right? It's very public, so um, very, very neat, very interesting. So very fortunate that I was able to find the Army Corps of Engineers.
So, did you have to learn when a general or somebody like that with a certain level of stars on his or bars on his lapel comes into the office? Do you have to stand up and salute?
No, no. I mean, obviously it's formal. There's a formal relationship, sir, ma'am, but yeah, not actually saluting. But there's like a Army Corps civilian creed that we follow. I can't ultimately recite that, but we do have something that we follow. We follow similar. There's the leadership acronym that the military has, and we follow that as well. Sometimes there's co-educational opportunities as well that military and civilian are taking together, learning. Basically, our main mission is civil works. We do some military construction as well, but most of it is civil works. Like you mentioned, the breakwater, the dredging that I currently am doing as well, and we have flood control, flood risk management, ecosystem restoration as well. So it's mainly civil works, but yeah, there's a good strong connection. Military and civilian. So, but no saluting. I'd be okay.
I so
I
wanted
mean,
to hear the creed. I'm so disappointed right now.
yeah, we could find it online.
Somebody Google that.
Hmm.
So you become the project manager. I'm going to skip ahead because this is
Yeah.
what everyone wants to know about. The project manager on the Oswego Breakwater repairs. How did that project come to you? And like as soon as you saw it, you're like, me, me, me. I'm on that.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So actually, when I started at the Corps of Engineers, I did what is a lateral, so same grade, program analyst. And so I was in our budgeting and scheduling team. And within a first maybe 4 or 5 months, I saw a job announcement and I saw it was interdisciplinary. So most of it civil engineer, environmental engineer, biologist, community planner. And then I saw economist on there and really piqued my interest. Like even early on, I didn't know much about it. I kind of had an idea, but didn't know much about it. And I said, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, let me focus on learning my current job first, right?" So I was able to go to our monthly review board meetings and listen to project managers brief, and I was able to see them brief in other areas as well, to our division in Cincinnati, sometimes to our headquarters and then see stakeholders come in and then they're out in the field a little bit. And of course, I'm looking at all our projects going, hey, there's Rochester dredging, there's Oswego, breakwaters, there's other structures, right? For me personally, obviously closer where I grew up and where I went to school. And in Syracuse, Onondaga Lake cleanup was a big one. I was never involved on that, like the combined sewer overflows, but the section I'm in now, right, had a project or program manager in there. So I was like, this is really neat and something I'm interested in. I like the budgeting, I like the scheduling, but longer term, I think I'd be best suited getting into project management. So I was in that program analyst role for about 5 years. And then I did another lateral to a project management specialist to get more project manager experience, right? Can't get it too much doing just budgeting and scheduling. So finally got in there and started meeting with stakeholders and doing meeting notes and getting, built up through that. And then after getting enough experience and getting, selected for a position as a project manager, it just so happened it coincided 2017, 2018, where the Oswego breakwater unfortunately was degrading, right? The stone was getting moved. There's high winds and waves. I'll put a plug in if you ever see John Kutchko Digital. He's an Oswego alum, and he is awesome because he's always out there taking photos and videos. And we definitely show those and use those, especially out on the West Arrowhead and the Breakwater. It's amazing, and we've seen kind of the side by side of like before our stone is repaired out there and after, and it's amazing how it just dissipates the waves. It is really really cool to see. So it just lined up that we were getting funding for work out there. And of course, it's lined up now where our funding stream has allowed for a completion event. We actually did that back in August. I had transferred the project to a new project manager, and we have another project manager. I transferred the design efforts. It just worked out best for that, and he's doing an awesome job. Continuing the efforts out there for the structure repairs, basically. It's structure repairs. And then earlier this year, one of the positions that I had kind of had a target on for a while is our dredging program. So our dredging, federal navigation channels from Toledo, Ohio, where I just was earlier this week. I just got back from there yesterday with a stakeholder meeting. So all the way up to like Messina, basically. So we cover Ogdensburg Harbor as well. So the lower Great Lakes, right? Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York. And partly getting into that is because I've worked in all these harbors. I developed relationships with, the port directors and some of the employees, and of course, always meeting connections out there. There's always a connection,
Yeah,
which is just
it's like
awesome.
alumni connections. You talk to people and all of
Yeah,
a sudden you're able to say, I know
yeah.
somebody there. And sure,
So
it makes everything easier.
yeah, so Bill Schreiber, even though he graduated a bit earlier than I did, he was noted in the Oswego Alumni magazine, and on the cover not too long ago, maybe a year or two ago. He just retired from the port, and then some of the folks that work in there as well had retired. Actually, one of my economics professors was the treasurer there for a little bit as well. Uh, so a lot of really, really neat, strong connections there, to the college and now through work as well, which is awesome.
I have two simultaneous questions, so I'm going with the one based on what you just talked about. So, I'm going to guess what you're talking about is parts of Lake Ontario have to be dredged or just the harbors?
Yep. So just the navigation channels. And a little bit out into the lake, right? The channels go a little bit. So Oswego, it's a little bit outside of the West Arrowhead, the West Pierhead Lighthouse, all the way up to the docks, obviously, and a little bit up to the river as well. Rochester, same thing. A little bit different. There's piers there, so it's in between the piers, a little bit out into the lake, and then all the way up into a turning basin as well. There's a vessel that comes from Canada, the McKeel Spirit, which John Kutchko does a great job highlighting. He gets the drone up there, and um, so uh, yeah, just up. And then so those are the two larger harbors, but there's also harbors like in Fairhaven, Little Sodus Harbor, Great Sodus. We just dredged out there recently, and then Oak Orchard, which is west of Rochester as well. So. And it's Rochester, Oswego are more regular, whereas these other ones are more infrequent as far as how often we dredge them. So
How do you know how far? This seems like a scientist question, not an economics guy question. So if I've gone off your area, just, tell me, how far do you know? Do you base the dredging on how big a boat is going to end up on that harbor, or is it a standard when it's this kind of harbor, we dredge this far?
yeah, so we have authorized depths, and they're different for every harbor. Obviously, Oswego is deeper than say Fairhaven, right? Different vessels going in there, recreational versus commercial. We have an awesome survey crew. They go out and they do soundings, and they have the depths. So we have, say, like 20-foot depth, but then they show multiple points that could be, say, 16 feet here, 18 feet here. Maybe there's like one that's 14 feet deep over here. And so we take those and then determine, obviously dredge in the areas to get it as close to that 20-foot authorized depth that we can. on would be great. Sometimes depending on funding and the bids we get, we may get like 19 feet versus 20. But we have an awesome survey crew that helps lead us into that. So
How do you know, like I live on the Seneca River. How do you know how big a boat is going to go in that, for my example, the river? And then how do you know that you have to dredge for that size?
yeah, so there's depths of the ships that obviously come through, and then one of the key things is there's seaway depth, which some of the harbors trying to get down to that 27 foot, very challenging. We have tried in Ogdensburg and Oswego, but the material to dredge would have to be blasted. So actually, before I became the dredging program manager, we tried to do the deepening. They're remote locations. You'll see it up and down the East Coast, very Miami Harbor, Norfolk, Philadelphia, Boston, New York. Much larger, but it's very, very challenging as we found. We'll do investigations in the material. It's just not, you can go down there with like a clamshell. You actually have to go do precision, underwater precision blasting safely to be able to get it out of there. And you're looking at going 7 or 8 feet deep with that, which is very challenging. It can be done very safely now. Over time, that very, very focused expertise has improved a lot. When it comes to like environmental safety, obviously boater safety, et cetera. Um, but yeah, so it's based on the depths of the ships. And we know that there's an interest for greater depths. Just very, very challenging to do so. Cost benefits are part of it. So there's your economics. So we actually have economists that are, I did not continue that route.
I was getting there. I was like, this feels like a science guy conversation right now. I'm enjoying it, but like, wow. Do you ever pinch yourself saying, wait a minute, I'm spending so much time talking about science, and where does my business degree land me? It lands me here.
Yeah. Yeah, and so I know a little bit about all of that to be able to talk to it, right, on how we do it. I don't get right into the weeds. And of course, so one of the things we do science related, we actually have biologists. We also have ecologists as well. But we have sections where we go out and we sample the material in the harbor and do testing on it. We do a validation and actual testing on it for placement locations. So in the case of Oswego, we open lake place. So it's maybe a mile and a half out into the lake. We're able to place it where obviously there's more depths. Um, that's in New York mostly. In Ohio, it's a little bit different. And in Buffalo too, we have what's called a CDF, a confined disposal facility. So those have been built and materials been placed in there. We've been doing more beneficial use now. So depending on the type of material, if it's a coarse grain material, we're able to place in the near shore to create habitat. So we coordinate with state agencies, obviously New York State Department of Environmental Conservation or Department of State, to be able to review and do those beneficial use projects. And we actually have a couple of them here in Buffalo. We have one, it's in Unity Island where we place dredge material there, and it is amazing, creating habitat, great environmental benefits. And obviously the economic benefits come from dredging to allow ships to go in as well. We have another one in a slip near Wilkeson Point, where we'll be placing material next year as well, to create, habitat. That's multiple cycles that'll build up and have some ecosystem, benefits as well. So
This
it's a
makes
nice connection. Yeah. I didn't know I'd have all these disciplines working underneath the program.
Oh,
So
it
it's
sounds
great.
like fun. It really does. I mean, who wants to look at spreadsheets all day?
Yeah.
Nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. So Lake Ontario is very famous for a lot of shipwrecks
Mm.
down below the water, and scuba divers going and checking those out. I'm guessing you are far away from any of that.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. Although in Cleveland, in the Cuyahoga River, there was a car that was in the channel that had to be removed. It was a newer car. It was a stolen car that was removed to be able to clear the federal channel. So sometimes there's obstructions like that that have to be removed, but not shipwrecks. So
What was wrong with the Oswego breakwater? Why did that have to be repaired?
Yeah, so over time it had not been repaired in multiple decades. And so how the breakwater is built, so originally it's kind of underwater wood pilings basically. And then on top of that, over time, the stone. And that stone from high winds and wave action gets moved, right? So you could do like a steel pile structure, but out in Oswego, at other harbors, there's that steel sheet pile structure. Like Rochester is a good example. Fairhaven is good. That was one of my projects, the West Pier there. But in Oswego, it's stone, and so there's a smaller stone, under bedding stone, and an underlayer stone, and then an armor stone, and those are connected the best that we can, right, for current conditions, which was decades ago very different. Now we have stronger storms, more frequent storms. So the stone that's out there now, much larger, right? Probably double, maybe even triple the tonnage that's out there. So you're looking at 20 plus ton armor stone versus 10 or below that was out there. So connected stronger for many decades to come, based on analysis by our we have coastal engineers that work on that. So
I know you're a project engineer, but let's get us far away from the spreadsheets. Do you go out and check on these projects?
oh yeah, definitely. Definitely do. And appreciate contractors. We have boats that can take us out there, but sometimes we'll get on the contractor barges to get out there to view it. We actually have a breakwater assessment team in the Great Lakes. So we have a district in Detroit and Chicago, and they rotate every year. And I'm not part of that team, but we have my coworkers will go out there and they'll take photos and assess anything that's shifted from previous years, and then move forward, with repairs. So, but one unique case I had or project was the Little Sodas Harbor West Pier that's in Fairhaven, only a half hour west of Oswego. Unfortunately, the repair steel sheet pile, there's a concrete cap. The bolts were coming loose from the wave action. It's amazing how many waves get in there. We actually had a local photographer, he's still there, Kyle Meadow, go out there safely and take photos of the water, overtopping, and it pulled the steel sheet pile away from the concrete cap, and the concrete cap settled. So we actually had to go out on site in March. I believe this was probably 2018, I believe, maybe 2019. And we actually, to be able to get out in the water, our boats weren't ready. We contacted the Coast Guard. They came out from Oswego to pick us up to be able to get out. Coldest boat ride ever. It's 35 degrees out, and it doesn't matter if you're inside a Coast Guard. Those are thin glass there. That's definitely more thin glass than I thought it would be. But yeah, just to be able to go out and review with the engineers and our operations and our designers as well. The engineers to be able to go out there and review that. And we did a nice temporary repair that lasted until we could get a permanent repair out there to do it. So yeah, so we coordinate with other federal agencies, like I said, Coast Guard. Sometimes, we'll coordinate with them to get out there and review, how things are going, especially in something like that, where we really needed to get out there early to get something together because, another storm, it would just make it worse for sure.
So you said your area is Toledo all the way to Messina. Um,
Mhm.
you must have a boat story. What's your worst boat story? I had to go and check on something. I was on a boat and here's what happened.
I think that one that I just described because it's so cold. That was just, I
Fairhaven,
mean,
you're at the
we
top.
we yes, we know, getting by the water. In the fall, it'll stay warmer. It's nice. But in the spring, it's cold. You have to go a little bit inland before you warm up a little bit. And that March time frame, that was cold.
No, those winds can pick up at any time. It could be in July, and all of a sudden you're getting a storm in, and it's
Yes.
it's a windy. all of a sudden you're like, whoa, what am I? This is like an ocean. Uh,
Yes.
so from Toledo to Messina, that's a couple of Great Lakes. What's your favorite Great Lake? Quick.
Uh, well, what's interesting, and I didn't know this until I started at the Army Corps of Engineers. So I started August 2006. We were in the break room and TV was on. I can't remember what channel, but they were just talking about the Great Lakes. So a drop of water in Lake Superior eventually makes its way all the way through the Great Lakes and out the St. Lawrence, out to the ocean. And I was like, I guess that makes sense. I had no clue. So I think all of them, honestly, I know we work on Lake Erie and Lake Ontario, but I think that's just really neat how that works, right? How it's a whole system, and it goes out. So honestly, all of them. Obviously, I'm partial to Lake Ontario because I grew up pretty close to Lake Ontario, maybe 15, 20 minutes south. And then obviously going to school at Oswego. So, but yeah,
Outside my door is a picture. It's like a map of all of the Great Lakes and all of the shipwrecks. Like it's all the dots of all the shipwrecks that can be
Mm,
found in all five of the Great Lakes. And of course, the Edmund Fitzgerald being one of the
yes,
most famous. And I always point that out to people. I'm like, we kind of got this because the Edmund Fitzgerald's right there, and it's good to know where it is.
yeah.
Okay, so looking back on your Oswego education, I mean, this is a hilarious question. How did it prepare you for what you're doing right now?
Yeah, so experience at Oswego, just obviously being by the water, just curiosity, I think, of those are still structures are out there, right? And you see these ships out there, and I had no clue that the Army Corps of Engineers existed until I got to EPA, until I started looking for jobs, and I was like, "What's the Army?" So I did some research. Um, and they've got Mount Moore's Dam south of Rochester, which protects the city, right, as well. And then the lock here, Black Rock Lock in Buffalo as well. But I think just being by the water, I think tremendous, asset to, I lived through storms, so I was a cross country and I did track and field as well. And so I know how weather changes, and it's like, uh, oh, well, we have to run one way into this strong wind. Maybe the other way back will be easier on the lake. So just understanding the dynamic that's out there, right? And then I think just obviously going through the process, like business, like I didn't know exactly what I would do with that, right? So I did something general, but just the guidance, definitely for current students, like talk to guidance counselors, talk to your professors, right? Try to do something maybe a little bit more than what you originally signed up for. Maybe get a minor, maybe get an extra major, right? In my case, like I had no clue how that would work out. And it opened up more opportunities for sure. No guarantees, but if you're interested in something, maybe pursue it a little bit more, right? And I got a lot of support from professors and from guidance counseling as well. And obviously was fortunate to make a connection, throughout my time there as well. Very fortunate that lined up at the right time. But yeah, so just doing a little bit more, right? And I was involved in a lot of activities as well, outside of just the normal maybe school stuff, right? Did a little bit with what was student athlete mentors, right? You probably may have seen on the resume. Did a little bit with kind of the health programs as well. We did some team building, so just getting out and doing things a little bit different than just the norm all the time. So.
Mhm. We always end with the Oscars question, which sounds weird, but if you were getting an award, definitely not an Oscar. We'd have to come up with something else. But the question is, if you were getting an award and you were up on stage and you were thanking everybody, who from Oswego would you thank for all your success?
Well, I know I mentioned the cross country, track and field, right? And so I was very fortunate to have a coach throughout my entire 4 years, Tim Boyce, right? He's not there now, but he was great in just helping me grow as a person, right? And just providing good, solid leadership, right? Somebody great to follow, which really, really helped. I definitely had some growth at my time at Oswego. We like to call it smoothing out the rough edges. So definitely, he's actually from the Syracuse area. He does come back every so often to Oswego, so it holds a special place in his heart, and it holds a special place in my heart as well. So it was definitely great having him, as a mentor, right? As a coach, as a mentor as well, kind of as a father figure as well, just to help guide through, learning, right? As a young adult, right?
Being on your own for the
So
first time. Yeah.
yes, yes, yes. Being on your own, going through experiences, right? Trying to navigate the world, right?
Mhm.
So it was awesome having him, and we still stay in touch. We're pretty close today. Throughout the years when he comes back to the area, try to visit as often as we can. So, yeah, definitely, an awesome mentor. Like I said, I was very fortunate to have him as a coach for all 4 of my years. So,
That's awesome. Well, Lex, it was great meeting you. It was great to geek out about the Great Lakes. And
yes,
thanks for your time today. If anybody wants to reach out to you, good places, LinkedIn.
yes, definitely. Yep, yep, I'm on there.
All right, we'll put the link right down here. And if you'd like to reach out to us with guest ideas, you can always find us on Facebook or LinkedIn or email us at alumni@oswego.edu. We're always looking for ideas from our over 95,000 alumni. Make sure you like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Dee Perkins with the Oswego Alumni Podcast.